You know, we're always hearing about these massive, world-shaking disruptions, right? The big, loud stuff. But what if the real revolution, the one that's going to define our lives in just a couple of years, is happening quietly? That's what we're diving into today. 10 trends that are subtly but surely reshaping our world for 2026.
Seriously, let that sink in. We're not talking about flying cars or some sci-fi robot takeover. Nope, this is about a much quieter revolution. It's a collection of soft, almost invisible shifts in how we work, how we live, even how we think about ourselves. These are the kinds of changes that just sneak up on you. One day you wake up and boom, it's the new normal and you barely even noticed it happening.
All right, so here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll look at the push of technology, all that automation in the workplace. Then, we'll flip it and look at the pull from us, the human counter-revolution for more meaning. And finally, we'll see what happens when those two forces smash together to create a totally reimagined world.
Okay, let's kick things off with that relentless push of technology. And again, this isn't about the big, flashy stuff you read about in headlines. It's about something much quieter, something that's changing the fundamental feel of our workday.
So the big idea here is something called soft automation. The best way to think about it is like this quiet, invisible layer of AI that's always running in the background, just handling stuff. It's the thing that soaks up all those annoying, repetitive tasks. You know, the digital paperwork that slows everything down. The goal is we stop thinking of AI as some separate tool we have to use, and it just becomes this ambient thing that's always there, making life easier.
I mean, think about it. Remember the nightmare of trying to schedule a meeting with 5 people, juggling 10 different calendars? Or spending the first hour after a big meeting just writing up the summary? That's the before world. By 2026, that stuff is just gone. It's handled by this ambient assistance, which means our brain power is finally freed up for the good stuff, the deep, creative, strategic thinking that humans are actually great at.
And it gets even weirder and honestly kind of cooler. It's moving beyond just tasks into what you might call synthetic companions. And no, this isn't just a new piece of software. We're talking about a digital colleague, something that doesn't just check off a to-do list, but actually becomes a part of your team's culture.
Just imagine an AI that can help onboard a new person, show them the ropes. Or one that can genuinely check in on how the team is feeling, maybe even help keep those little inside jokes and rituals alive. These companions are being designed to help with the emotional heavy lifting, to become part of the team's shared memory. It's all about lightening that human load in a totally new way.
All right, so if that's the tech push, what's the human reaction? How are we changing in response to all this? Well, that brings us to the second act of this story, the pull. It's this powerful human drive back toward having control, being able to focus, and frankly, just figuring out who we are.
You can feel it everywhere, right? This collective burnout from being always on. People are pushing back hard. We're actively looking for digital breathing room. The use of things like focus modes, do not disturb, any tool that helps protect our attention, it's just exploding. We still want to be connected, for sure, but we're done with the constant, draining intrusion.
And it's not just about turning things off. It's about getting way smarter with the tech we do use. So instead of one giant, all-knowing AI assistant, picture this. You have your own personal team of little AI agents, a personal agency network. You give them a big picture goal like, hey, plan a healthy week for me. Then your finance agent, your health agent, and your calendar agent all talk to each other, figure out the logistics, and come back to you with a plan. Your only job? You're the boss. You just give the final thumbs up.
Now, this whole push for control isn't just happening on our screens. It's spilling over into the real world in a really interesting way. There's this growing movement people are calling slow identity. And it all starts with something simple, like rediscovering an old hobby.
And listen, this is the most important part. This has absolutely nothing to do with productivity. This is the total opposite of the side hustle culture. It is not about monetizing your passion for baking or turning your knitting into an Etsy shop. Nope. This is about identity. It's about doing something just for the love of it, for the pure, simple joy of it. The goal isn't to be more efficient or to optimize your downtime. The goal is to build a solid, grounded sense of who you are, completely separate from your job title or your to-do list. It's about carving out a piece of your life that belongs only to you, your curiosity and your happiness.
Okay, so let's get to the grand finale. This is where it all comes together. What happens when the tech push meets the human pull? They collide, they merge, and they create something totally new. We're talking about new ways of building communities, running our economies, and even trusting each other.
One of the coolest things we're seeing is that innovation is going local, big time. Instead of waiting for some giant corporation in Silicon Valley to solve our problems, communities are doing it themselves. We're seeing the rise of these local micro-powerhouses, small, super-focused groups tackling their own specific problems, like food waste in their town or creating jobs for local youth. It's practical, grassroots problem-solving.
And that same desire for trust that's happening locally, it's scaling up globally. We're entering an age of what you might call hyper-transparent supply chains. Pretty soon, transparency isn't going to be some nice little extra feature. It's going to be the absolute baseline. You'll be able to scan a product in a store and, thanks to tech like blockchain, see its entire life story, where the cotton was grown, what the factory conditions were like, even the carbon footprint of its trip to the shelf.
And speaking of proof, our whole idea of what counts as evidence is being completely upended. Get this, by 2026, it's projected that screenshots will be part of the evidence in nearly 70% of consumer legal disputes. Just wow. That little screen grab you took, it's becoming one of the most powerful artifacts of our digital lives.
This is what's creating the screenshot economy. It's this whole new ecosystem where a simple screenshot is your receipt, your proof, your memory, it's everything. And of course, that creates a huge new problem to solve. How do you prove a screenshot is real? So we're going to see a whole new wave of tools designed to verify them, to lock in the context and timestamps, and prove what you captured is what actually happened.
Okay, two last quick trends to wrap up this vision of a reimagined world. First, there's civic forecasting, which is basically communities using powerful tools to look into the future together and make smarter decisions. And second, bio-inspired design is hitting the big time. We're finally learning to design our products and cities by mimicking the genius of nature, making everything more resilient and sustainable.
So, if you take one thing away from this, let it be this. The world of 2026 isn't just about tech. It's about this incredible tension, this dance between push and pull. You've got the push of technology, making our work lives quieter and more automated. Then you've got the pull from us humans, reclaiming our focus and our identity. And the synthesis, where they meet, that's what's rebuilding our communities on a foundation of transparency, local power, and real trust.
And all of this leaves us with one last really important question for you. As all this quiet, helpful technology blends seamlessly into the background of our lives, the choices we make, consciously or not, become absolutely critical. So the question is, in this new world, what parts of your life will you choose to automate, and what parts, the truly human parts, will you choose to protect?